Over the weekend, rioting in Cairo, Egypt. Some 26 people losing their lives, being killed, military clash. To talk about that and the Middle East, a Middle East expert and terror expert, Dr. Phares. Waleed, good morning.
Good morning to you. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Always look forward to talking with you. So what happened over the weekend? What was going on?
Well, it's simple. The Arab Spring in Cairo took a very big hit. Basically, a demonstration of Copts, thousands of Copts, Christians in Egypt. They form a very large minority, 15 million across Egypt, was demanding the government to investigate and stop the attacks against their churches, including in the south. And out of the blue, the army, the Egyptian army, the one that we fund with billions of dollars, suppress them, crack down on them, and send their military vehicles to crush them. About 30, if not more, Copts were killed and hundreds were injured, and then some were taken to custody. But in addition to that, as the army was doing this, they were Salafi jihadists, armed in the streets, also going after the demonstrators. So it was not a very, good scene to see by the American public that has thought that really Egypt now is on its path to democracy, and we have been funding the armed forces.
Are you surprised, Waleed?
I was not surprised by the fact that Salafi jihadists would do so. That is not a surprise. There is a history. They have been attacking the Copts for that long. I was really surprised that orders would be given to the army of Egypt to go head-on against an unarmed demonstration of Copts. I mean, the weakest segment of society in Egypt, and then do this. So they promised they're going to investigate, but, when you see the picture, there's nothing to investigate psychologically. We know that an order has been given, and there was a political deal cut between the army and the Muslim Brotherhood to intimidate the Copts. That's the only explanation that we have so far.
All right, there you go. There's the name, the Muslim Brotherhood, and we, when the uprising and the overthrow of Mubarak took place, you and I spoke at that time and with others, and everybody said these are the bad boys.
Yes, well, the Muslim Brotherhood basically do not hide it. They want to establish a Islamist state in Egypt. Of course, they are now forming parties, front parties, saying that, they're not running, but their parties are running, the usual thing. The bottom line is that they have not, so far, i.e. the Muslim Brotherhood, recognized the existence of a Coptic people, of a Coptic culture, that they need their autonomy, their rights. That's why if they would win the election, and they are slated to do so in the next few weeks and months, then the Copts will be in dire, political circumstances.
Would you then see a refugee situation, do you think, or would you just have a civil war?
There is no civil war because you don't have two armed parties. I have argued this yesterday on Arab TV. Every time they spoke of clashes, of civil war, said, between who? You've got to have either two militias or two armies. Here you have a flock of Copts. The maximum they can do is throw rocks and sticks. And then you have, on the one hand, a very well-armed army by us, and then another armed and organized network of the Muslim Brotherhood and the Salafists. So what kind of civil war is that the Copts will be involved in? What is going to happen is further suppression against this largest Christian minority in the Middle East.
So what do you think? What do you think is the downside here?
The downside is that we have, from the beginning of those changes in Egypt, endorsed to partner. I mean, we meaning the administration, the government, and some Europeans as well, with the Muslim Brotherhood, instead of giving visibility not just to the Copts, but to the liberals, to women's movement, students' movement, Muslim moderate, Muslim seculars in Egypt, to create some sort of balance. And yeah, you can talk to the Muslim Brotherhood, no problem with that. But then to partner only and exclusively with them at the expense of everybody else, this is the result.
All right, talk to me about Libya. Where the heck is Muammar Gaddafi?
Most likely he would be in the south. I have always argued from the beginning of the game. You look at the map, he's not going to be in a city that is going to be encircled because he's going to be caught. So he's not in Ben Walid in the northwest. He's not in Sirte, his birthplace on the Mediterranean, because it's encircled. Most likely he is in the desert in the south with an access to either the Sahel, meaning the southern borders, or to Algeria. That's what I suppose he would be. And he's waiting to see if his own enclaves that are still resisting the rebels, now the regime, can resist as long as possible so that this would become a protracted war and not be ended by the current regime.
Waleed Phares, from what you know, who's running the place there in Libya?
I think in Libya now the real force are the Islamist militias. That's no doubt about it. But they don't show much of their face at this point in time. Although on Al Jazeera we see them, we hear them chanting, the jihadi songs. Everybody in the Arab world knows that. But in addition to that, you have the former military and bureaucrats of the armed forces of Libya who turn against Gaddafi. So when Gaddafi's enclaves will be gone, what you're going to see is a quick struggle for power between the Islamists and the seculars in Libya too, and most likely the Islamists will take it. Except areas of ethnic minorities, again in Libya you have the Kabyles, the Amazigh, these are Berbers, and in the south the more African tribes, those will resist the Islamist militias.
It's a place that we find hard to understand here in the United States. It's a society that goes back obviously millennia, and it is structured in such a way that is completely different from anything that we understand. Let me ask you, while I have got you on the line here, what do you make of what's going on in Saudi Arabia? We never hear anything about Saudi Arabia, and within the last month or so, all kinds of little things here with the women driving and the payoffs and the money and then this and that. What's going on?
The monarchy is trying to delay as much as possible another move for change in Saudi Arabia. But there too, you have two forces that want to change. You have women, the soft power, the youth, the laptop people, not as strong as in Egypt or in Syria or in Libya, but still pushing and pushing. On the other hand, you have the more radical Salafi forces, meaning even more radical than the Wahhabis. Could you imagine anything more radical than the Wahhabis, also pushing for, stopping the reforms? So eventually, as long as the king is there and his health, and his age are not very promising now, he can put both forces at bay and making concessions to all sides. That's why you mentioned that he's paying millions, billions of dollars to make sure that there is no uprising. But when he's gone, I think it's going to hit Saudi Arabia. A spring or a wind is going to hit also Saudi Arabia. Let me add one thing. Iran is also in the neighborhood. Iran is becoming very active in eastern Saudi Arabia, in the Shia areas. And Yemen, if Yemen goes south, it's in the south already, it could affect the southern part of Saudi Arabia. So the Saudis now knows that the future has a lot of trouble for them at this point in time.
Unbelievable. Okay, well, Waleed Phares is on this radio show because of what he knows. He is an expert out there. Thank you, Waleed, as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You bet.